Good afternoon. We are through herding cats. We're ready to begin. We do have a quorum, so before we call the meeting to order, a couple of housekeeping items. If you'd like to address the trust at some time during the meeting, there are some sign-up sheets out in the lobby for you to fill out, and if you'll turn those in, we will call upon you at the appropriate time. There's also a time at the end of our session for general comments from the citizenry, so you can also keep your comments till then, and we'll be happy to hear you. And then if you would turn off your cell phones, we will be ready to go. With those preliminary remarks, let's call to order the Tuesday, November 13th, 2018 meeting of the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust. And our first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes of the September 18th, 2018 Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it is so done. Next on the agenda is to ratify the OCEDT claims that you have before you. Any comments, or is there a motion to ratify the claims?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
Comment. Would reiterate the Oklahoma City County Health Department, the Southern Oaks project amount.
Yeah, and there's a claim on a payment for the Southern Oaks project. That's a TIF allocation. That's a project that we're doing in partnership with the City County Health Department. The public schools are involved, libraries, everybody. So great project in South Oklahoma City. The other one that you might notice is that there is also a payment to Omni on the claims and payrolls, so we are beginning to disperse our portion of the public assistance to that project.
Thank you, Kathy.
I'd like to move approval, please.
We have a motion to approve. Second. Please cast your votes. And it is ratified. Next up, Mr. Winger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We do have a couple items on your agenda today. The first one is item 4A. This is the final acceptance of project number MB 1054. This is better known as the Pedestrian Plaza project. It is the final of the park-like projects that was constructed as a part of Project 180, and it's the area that's bound between Oklahoma Tower, Renaissance, and, of course, Corporate Towers. So it's a small kind of a pocket park that's here in downtown Oklahoma City. Total cost is about $4.1 million. And be happy to answer any questions you might have. But again, this is the final acceptance.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion.
Second.
A second. Any comments or questions? Seeing none. And it is so ordered. Next up, another project.
This next item is 4B, and it's approving Amendment 2 and Change Order 2 for the Phase 2 improvements for Bricktown infrastructure. You might recall there was a Phase 1 project. Total was about, it was completed in 2015, and we started doing a lot of ADA enhancements, landscaping enhancements, and things that related to the public facilities around the Bricktown Canal. A Phase 2 project, which this is, was created to do some additional work that was identified. The total for Phase 2 is about $800,000. It's 99% complete to date with just some final items remaining. Change order includes some quantities and some unforeseen conditions related to sidewalks, traffic control, some gutters, pavers, and a light pole. With that, we're recommending approval today, and we'll be bringing back hopefully a final acceptance on this project very soon as well.
Thank you, sir.
May I ask a question?
You sure can.
Or actually, I would just like to make a comment that I appreciate all the notes and verification and so on our backup in detail. That's greatly appreciated, and I'd like to move the item.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Seeing none, please cast your votes. And it's so done. Thank you, Eric. Next, we have a guest, and I believe, Kathy, you're going to introduce our guest.
Yes, we have Mitchell Brown with us today, who is the Chief Operating Officer for the Outlet Resource Group.
Hi.
Hi, Mitchell. Nice to have you back.
Hi. Thanks, everyone, for having us today. I also have with me Jeanette Smith, who's the general manager of the Outlet Center. So we're just here to give you an update on our progress since acquiring the center in April of 2017, and to talk a little bit about the Trust's co-investment along with us and our retail partners in the marketing of this asset for the city of Oklahoma City. I think to start with, we'd just like to say, how graciously we've been welcomed in this community. And we don't often find that kind of welcome when we come into existing centers, but it's just been great. And we really have enjoyed the time here, great resources in the city, great partnership, with everyone from the Alliance for Economic Development to the Chamber to this organization, city staff, Brent and his team. So just like to thank everyone publicly for welcoming us into the community, and we've really had a great run so far. As I mentioned, we took over the asset in April of last year. We immediately embarked on a project to re-envision the consumer experience at the shopping center. And we have a point of view that the shopping center should really serve as a backdrop for these great brands that are world-renowned that we have here. So we dialed back the color presentation, went from something like 30-some colors to 3 or 4, and really have tried to provide a nice canvas for the brands to rest upon. We also renamed the center from the outlet shops at Oklahoma City to OKC Outlets, both to have a more user-friendly name and to reflect more current trends. As a part of that, we also redid the signage at the center. We feel it's really important on these tower signs to have a strong presence from Interstate 40, get our key brands up there, and so we've done that. We've also, in addition to the tower signs, redone some of the marquee elements, both pedestrian and vehicular wayfinding. This is the entrance off of Reno, just to the north of I-40, and you can see on the left the way it used to look, and on the right the way it looks now. This run of road for us between the interstate and Reno really still presents a challenge. It's quite congested. It's visually cluttered. There are some businesses we'd rather not have at our front door there, but we still think there's opportunity to improve this intersection and create a better customer experience. But I think we've made good progress so far. The good news is this is all working out. Along with the Trust investment with us, we've driven traffic increases every month over the past 12 months and strong sales increases with the exception of 2 months. But overall, our traffic's up 7% compared to the prior year, and retail sales are up almost 6.5% compared with the previous 12 months. Based on the current retail landscape, these are phenomenal numbers. I mean, we could not be happier. We say in our business, flat is the new up. So 0% sales growth in shopping centers is something you're happy with. When we see these kind of numbers, it's really reflective both of the market and we think and reflective of some of the changes. And outlet centers have a more defensive posture against other retail formats. So we're seeing, and the growth on the corridor out to the west, we think is playing into this as well. So we're very happy and hope you guys are too. We really use market research to underpin our entire planning. And we've just completed a very comprehensive study of the customer base at the outlet center. We do this both with cell phone data and with online surveys. And what we're finding is the news is quite good. We're actually drawing a little bit of a more affluent customer than exists in the market, so it makes sense based on the tenant mix. For example, the average household income in the MSA is around $68,000 an hour. The average household income of our shoppers around $82,000. We have a slightly higher educated customer. These are all good numbers to show to potential retail tenants and just shows the potential in the marketplace. Similarly, we're overdrawing in some key categories. The age of 35 to 54, particularly in females, is really important to us, and we're indexing over the market in that regard, also in the higher incomes, which are great. We see opportunity, though, at the bottom of the screen. We're underdrawing some ethnic populations, including African-American population and the Hispanic population. So we see those as growth opportunities for us, and we certainly will be concentrating on reaching those audiences as we move forward. By and large, customers are pretty satisfied with the shopping center. So not only do we look at quantitative data, we look at qualitative to see if they're enjoying the shopping center experience. So a lot of good news in this chart. Dining options, which if you've been there, you know most of our better food is around the perimeter of the shopping center. The food court is a bit challenged, and so we're really focused on improving the food offer within the center as we move forward. But these are great numbers. We'd like to have these sort of in any shopping center that we work on. When we purchased the center in April of 2017, we did a quick cell phone study to find out where our customers were coming from. This map shows you how spread out and dispersed our customer base is. These represent block groups that the customers are coming from. And while we're drawing a broad geography, there's not much population density, as you would know, out to the west. So we focused our marketing efforts really into three main areas. Those were more local, so getting the local population to shop and shop more frequently. Really keying in on the tourism market, which is really the purpose of this body's investment in the shopping center, to attract that customer from outside of the market who's generating sales tax revenue but not necessarily using your services. And then three, looking at sort of outer suburban geographies with population density such as Tulsa. And we also want to reach tourists when they're both planning their visit here and then when they're here. So we use digital marketing strategies to do that. So if people, for example, are searching for places to stay in Oklahoma City, you might see an ad for the Outlet Center. If someone's coming to the Morgan Horse Show and is at the State Fairgrounds, they might get a phone ad delivered up on their mobile device because we've geo-fenced that area and served up an ad if they meet our criteria. And so what's happened over the past 18 months is we've really consolidated that draw of our customer. This is from August, and it shows you that we've filled in the closer in areas. We're still drawing from Amarillo. We're still making infiltration into the Tulsa market, but this is a much more efficient use of dollars, and it's really driving the sales results that you saw earlier. We also take a look at our competition, and I've redacted their names because I don't think it's fair to put them up here, but we're winning in a lot of cases. So we draw more out-of-state customers than any of the other shopping centers. So we draw 13.2% of our customers come from out of state, and that's more than any of our other competitors in the marketplace. And that looks at both enclosed malls and strip shopping centers and, you know, other retail areas. We're also attracting customers from a further distance. So the reason that's important is, again, this the EDA's investment, or the Economic Development Trust investment into the marketing of the center is intended to go outside of the market. But also, the further people travel, the longer they stay and the more money they spend. So we're excited to see that we're getting a strong length of trip to the center, and then, importantly, they're staying longer. We surpass the average by 6 minutes, and we also, where we're competing more closely with visit duration is where there are entertainment options like movie theaters. So people tend to spend longer time at shopping centers where there are movie theaters and other entertainment options. So I think you'll see us focused on those categories as we try to round out the consumer experience at the shopping center. So what you guys are probably interested in, sales and sales tax and employment. So the sales number for the last 9 months, so that's a year-to-date sales number, is almost $90 million, which is a great number for us. The sales tax revenue from what we call the EDA fiscal year, which is the agreement period that we have with you, $5.6 million for those 12 months, $1.2 million in property taxes, and the center employs about 1,250 people, excluding seasonal employees. So it's a strong economic generator, and we think these are great results. Importantly, we like to operate on a very transparent basis. So how are we spending the money that the trust is investing in us? And the vast majority of the money, over 80%, goes right into paid media advertising. The total budget for the center is about $1.2 million, so we're more than doubling the trust's investment there. And I think it's important to say that none of the trust dollars go to support overhead at our company or at the shopping center. So these dollars are being spent to market this asset directly in all of these categories. And we supplied Brent and Lacey and the team here detail, and I'm sure you guys see that too as we're seeking reimbursement for those funds. Just a more graphic representation of where we spend this. Our two primary advertising media are radio and digital, and we see great results from that. We also spend considerable resources in social media. We have a fantastic Facebook following for the center, 76,000 Facebook followers. That's about 75% more than our two closest competitors here in the market combined. And that's growing every day. And this is a very efficient way to reach customers, and it's a good way because we can have back and forth dialogue with them. We also have a subscription database that we've been working on since we acquired the center. We've grown this database by nearly 80% since acquisition in April of last year and 25% thus far this year, and we continue to focus on this. One of our drivers for acquisition this year is we're giving away 2 reserved parking spaces right up front for Black Friday weekend, and we just can't keep up with the demand for those, so it was a brainchild of Jeanette's, and we've done that. We also, the creative for this center, the advertising creative, is done by an Oklahoma City-based agency, the Funnel Design Group, who's done a great job for us. And I'll just click through some examples here, but you'll see that we don't do a one-size-fits-all advertising campaign. So the advertising for Oklahoma City is far different from the advertising for other assets that we own or work on, and we try to make it very specific to the market. And we think that also has greater impact. So we want it to be cut through, we want it to be relevant to the audience. This happens to be an ad that we were serving up for people coming to the Morgan Horse Show. We have arena signage at the state fairgrounds. We're promoting both the overall outlet offer and specific tenants that we think are relevant to that group. On site, directional signage, strong website reinforcing the value proposition. And our deal of the day strategy is intended to promote what I call the cocktail party conversation of the great thing you found at the outlet center for a great price. So if it's a Coach bag you bought for $100 that retails for $400, I love to see that and hear people talk about that, and we try to promote that on our digital channels through Facebook and our website as well. More creative, this campaign's really working very well for us. Holiday, so this is our big time, right? So we're running on 16 radio stations throughout the state. Have a really strong reach and frequency with our market and over 14 million digital impressions. The creative for holiday is up. We're also doing a big Thanksgiving night promotion and a New Year's Eve giveaway for staying here. There are Thunder tickets, overnight at the Ambassador, New Year's Eve night festivities, et cetera. So we're really driving engagement with the customer throughout. We have a 4-week radio campaign and a 6-week digital campaign that we're running throughout the holiday program, and our digital campaign does about 3 times better than the industry benchmark, which shows both the interest in the outlet center, we think, and the effectiveness of the campaign. This is the picture from Black Friday. This is what warms my heart. A full parking lot and a full roadway leading off, and we like to see this. We see this really 2 times a year, Black Friday weekend and tax-free the first weekend in August. And we hope to see you all out there shopping for holiday. Happy to answer any questions. I know we went through things quickly.
Thank you for that very thorough and exciting report. Sure. Questions from the trustees? Yes, ma'am.
Mitchell, of the 7% increase in traffic and the 6.5% in sales, is there any correlation to your rebranding or re-imaging the facility and how it's impacted perhaps, and I know you don't use the term, but average check, meaning people feel like they're getting something of more value versus steeping to the low-end provider?
I don't empirically know the answer to that question, but my gut says that people enjoy the environment more, so they're staying longer and spending more when they stay longer. And I think it's also helped. We opened Kate Spade this year, so that store is not comping yet, so it's not in that figure, but it's attracting, the shopper. We were really missing some of the key pockets of the more affluent customer. We've also started advertising in like the 405 magazine to reach some of that audience. So I think all of that combined, and importantly, the reimaging of the center has generated interest from potential retail tenants. So I think over time you'll see, it takes retailers a long time to make a deal, but I think you'll see better tenancy as we move forward.
Well, from the time that this came on board, the outlet center, this is the most thorough and the most professional presentation we've ever had. So, just FYI.
Oh, well,
appreciate
thank
the
you.
Transparency too.
Well, we certainly appreciate your partnership, and we think that you deserve that level of response, and we value the money you invest in our asset and in the marketing program. So, thank you for that.
You just got those comments from a leading person in the Oklahoma City marketplace, our president from the Chamber of Commerce. So that accolade right there means something.
I did know that.
I'm going to give
you can give me the critique of the ad campaign later.
She will be handing out calling cards after Any other comments? Thank you so much for taking the time to come and brief us. And are those figures available to Brent?
Yes, sir. He has everything. He has the presentation. So.
Thank you for sharing those.
Thank you.
Well done. All right, next up, Mr. Brent.
I could probably handle this.
Okay.
The next item is item D, the economic development agreement with Kratos Unmanned Aerial Systems. Kratos has been before the trust and made a presentation about their project. One thing to note is that the trust originally authorized $1 million allocation for this project. We've negotiated that to $900,000, still based on 350 jobs and about a $66,000 average annual wage. So another good project, and we're excited that they're coming to Oklahoma City.
And do they just get it, or do they have to earn it?
They have to earn it.
The contract.
They always have to earn it.
I'm looking for the buzzwords.
Okay. This is Brent's part of the presentation. So it's a pay-for-performance agreement like all of ours are. They have to create the jobs before we provide them with the incentives.
Thank you, Kathy. Any comments or questions from the trustees? Action? Approve?
Do you want to make the motion or you want me to? I'll make the motion. Okay, I'll second. When it's only the two of us, we have to go back and forth. Okay.
It's kind of tough. We need to recruit some people from the audience to participate, or we'll be here all night. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the contract with Kratos. Please cast your votes. And it is so done. Next up, another economic development opportunity.
Yes, this is the joint resolution to approve an allocation in the amount of $250,000 to provide job creation incentives to Bose Allen. They plan to create about 130 jobs in Oklahoma City. And I have to get to the item really quick. The average wage is $85,000. Falling behind. Let's see, I would like to introduce Teresa Lynch, who's their senior associate here, to make a presentation about the project.
Thank you. Thank you for your time today. I wanted to introduce some people who are with me today. My name is Teresa Lynch. I'm a senior associate from Booz Hamilton in Virginia. And I have with me Rex Jordan, one of our vice presidents that's responsible for the Oklahoma City market. We have Tom Boyle, who is our principal director here and he is located here and was employee number 1 in Oklahoma City. And then we have Lynn Longstreet, who is our site lead, and Madeline Mitchell, who is an associate here at our Oklahoma City office. So thank you for your time today. We're very excited to talk about the project. Booz Allen has been in business for over 100 years. We started in 1914, and we have over 25,000 employees nationwide and throughout the world. 30% or more are veteran or veteran-connected. 50% of the staff in the Oklahoma City office are veteran or veteran-connected, so it's pretty exciting and a pretty amazing percentage here in our local office. We are a managing consulting firm. We do a lot of defense contracting, substantially all of our businesses with the federal government. We are branching out into commercial as well. We have many different offerings. You'll see listed above and on the next slide some information regarding our cybersecurity, our analytics solutions, digital, engineering and consulting, and we are differentiated by our culture, strategy, channels, agility, and our ability to integrate. In Oklahoma City, Booz Allen serves the Department of Defense, including the Air Force National Guard, and the Navy. We also have employees not only at our office here in Oklahoma City, but also out on our client sites in Oklahoma City and throughout Oklahoma. And we are, as I said, we are expanding into our commercial markets. Now I'm going to ask Tom Boyle to come up and speak to this slide. He is here in our local market. As I said, he is employee number 1. And he'll talk to the service offerings and a little bit about who we serve in the local market.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Thank you for having us. I think the most important thing for me to say here is I'm an Oklahoman. I went to high school here in Oklahoma City, joined reserves, got a job with the federal government, did a career with the federal government. The highlight of that is I managed Air Force One for about 12 years. When I left the government, I had an option to go to multiple contractors. I chose Booz Allen because I thought Booz Allen had the right ethical base and the right credentials to do the job right. So I was the first employee hired here. I've grown this organization from one person when I hired one to there's about 110 people in the central part of Oklahoma State, with 90 of them here located in the downtown market area. In the 15 years now that I've been doing this, I've not given out one lack of work letter, only because when we hire somebody for Booz Allen, it's for a career, it's not just a job. A couple of years ago, when I first opened the office, it was primarily focused on the military base and what can we do to help our nation be stronger. So I spent a lot of time recruiting and bringing on the best of the best from the civil service and retired military sector. About 5 years ago, I decided that we were living in the dark ages. So we started going out and recruiting at the local colleges and bringing in local talent, non-DOD affiliated people, which created an environment that you had people who were eager, thought outside the box, versus the old structure and the way the Air Force works, the way DOD works. You bring those two together and it becomes magic. So they help each other and they help each other grow. So we have people like Madeline, which was one of the first people that we hired as right out of, well, actually short for the governor, but that's a whole other story. But she was young, didn't have the DOD experience, and bringing her to the table has really enhanced our ability. So what we see here in the future is not changing badges, not recycling people, but actually adding additional jobs to the market space. Because as it is now, I can't keep up with the demand from Tinker. We're not your everyday A&A as contractor or the typical bottoms and seats. We're the high-end consultants. So I spend very little time at the base actually marketing. Most of the time the base calls me and says, would you come out and sit down with us and talk to us about this capability or that capability or whatever. So a good example is, as most of you know, they're getting ready to re-engine the B-52 bomber. You have platforms that are 50 years old. The government came to us and asked if we would assist them in doing the engineering design, the prototyping, the marketing, the acquisition for those follow-on engines. So we're going to staff up. We're in the process of staffing up now, but we'll continue to staff up over the next couple of years to make that a holistic picture. Those are the kind of things we do. We don't just go out there and sit in seats and do the everyday things. We're the guys helping them make a difference, which helps Oklahoma become stronger, which helps Oklahoma City become stronger. So as you can see, there's just a couple of the platforms that we serve here in the Oklahoma City market. You may not know, but Oklahoma City is a center of excellence for the VIP aircraft. So all the presidential fleet and support platforms to support the White House are all managed out here at Oklahoma. Besides that, you have legacy tankers, the B-52s. You have some trainers out there. We're supporting, we have a small contingent out at the Guard unit supporting them. Just got invited out to the FAA to talk to them about a capability. And that's also the difference that we make versus the standard contractor. You see them come in and they do this, life cycle. Ours has been a constant like this. And the reason for that is because when I came on board, they said, hey, go figure out what would make a big difference. So I've tried to establish life cycle work versus transactional work. Life cycle work is work that whenever an organization or weapon system buys into it, they stay with it until that platform retires. So those are the kind of jobs we take, and then we supplement that with transactional work. So that's kind of a background. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Great, thanks for that background. And as Tom had mentioned to me as well, that integration of the younger talent with the experienced military talent has really created an interesting dynamic that is creating innovation, and it's been really impressive to watch. So as you know, we're looking to expand in Oklahoma City. We look around throughout the United States and we see where we need to grow based on what's happening in the marketplace. Which parts of our business are thriving? Where is the workforce? Where is the environment, the business environment, the most attractive? So when we do this type of analysis, we look at the types of markets that Tom has built and others have built, and we go, okay, what is the right time and the right place to expand? And Oklahoma City, as you know, I'm sure, has all the raw materials that we need to be successful. You've got an impressive pipeline of talent. You've got clients that we have relationships with that we will continue to serve from here, but they could honestly be served from elsewhere. So we do take a serious look on where we expand. The incentives do come into play. They're a critical part of our analysis, and they are important to not only the where decision, but the timing of the decision. And one of the things that we look at when we look at where we're going to grow is also in the future, what does that mean? So we're starting to develop innovation hubs, software development hubs. We're expanding our SCIF program. We actually have a SCIF in the facility that we're in, which allows us to do the classified work. So, you know, the competition within the firm on who gets these jobs, you know, that Tom is, you know, fighting with George, who's fighting with Renee on where we can grow. And you really have a fertile environment for us to be successful here and to continue our growth. So we're very excited about that. Our key location here in Oklahoma City is Leadership Square, and we're looking to expand into additional space there. So just some details about kind of the facts of the project. We expect that the upfit of the building to accommodate our needs would be about $800,000, probably close to $1 million. We currently have 90 full-time employees within Oklahoma City proper, and that payroll is approximately, it's over $7.5 million a year just for our existing payroll. When we look at creating 130 full-time jobs over the next 5 years, that they'll ramp up over time. We actually have a schedule, they'll ramp up over time, and the average wages are expected to be about $85,000. Our benefits are extremely competitive. We're doing some interesting things with benefits related to continuing education. We already received a call from Oklahoma University and helping them perhaps frame their new MBA program that has a aerospace defense angle to it. But we actually are paying between $5,000 and really $20,000 a year for our employees to get secondary additional education, and they're already coming in very highly educated. So that's money that can flow into educational programs locally as well. Diversity of job classifications, you can see they're not just all cyber jobs, they're not just all analytical jobs. There'll be a lot of systems engineering jobs related, hopefully, to work related to the B-52. And highly cleared staff is something that we're always looking for. It's very important to the work that we do as well. Community involvement, I'm going to let Tom speak a little bit about this since he is here. Here's just kind of a list of our memberships and things that we're involved in, but I'm also going to just flip over to the next pictorial and let Tom talk to that.
So we feel like we're a partner in the city of Oklahoma City. So, of course, we're members of the chamber, have been. It's been a very enlightening experience with those members. Got to listen to you speak. Anyway, in the final analysis, this is our home. We give back to the community. We want to participate in the community. We want to be part of the community. And I think that's key. I believe that, the universities here in Oklahoma City and the surrounding area can provide the kind of talent that we need to fill a lot of the vacancies that we have. We're looking at how do we move the Center of Excellence for development, for our development team from the East Coast to Oklahoma City. So there are multiple things ongoing that we're having conversations about right now that drive this organization here in Oklahoma City to become larger and larger and a bigger hub within the overarching Booz Allen sphere. So, this is really an opportunity for us to explain to you that we care much about this city as you care about this city, because this is our home. And certainly what we want to do is help grow this. I want to see Bricktown become even better than what it is today. I want to see what I call the bullet trains that drive around right now, the test mode. I want to see those become something that people talk about from all over the country. So we bring people in here on a regular basis. So not only do we have the revenue that we gain here, but we bring additional revenue in because we host all of our meetings and all of our summits here in Oklahoma City. So, it's a great opportunity for us, but I also think it's a partnership with you. So, thank you.
In summary, today we're seeking your approval to do two things: authorize negotiations for staff to negotiate with Booz Allen and to allocate $250,000 of our GOLD funds to this project. We anticipate a standard performance-based contract where they will not be paid until they create the jobs. One thing I would like to point out is since they already have existing staff, they have to maintain the 90 jobs that they have in place, and then they have to, and we'll count the jobs above that 90. We do anticipate a repayment of around 5 to 7 years, which is our standard typical projects, and I expect us to bring an agreement back to you for your consideration by the end of the first quarter of 2019. So with that, I'll be happy to answer your questions, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer questions too. Also.
Thank you. Questions? Todd?
Thank you. So I know, based on the model for Booz Allen, a lot of that workforce is contract-based. As bids are won, right, so all of a sudden we grow, and hopefully you continue to grow that way. And this might be more of a question for staff, but how do we verify that we're not paying an incentive for a short-time contract employee?
we don't necessarily get down to that level. I mean, what we look at are what's the start date, how many jobs do they have, and the way our program works. If they create that job for a year, it gets incentivized for 1 year. But if they don't have that job after the fact, they're not going to get incentivized for anything. Again, it goes back to being performance-based. So we never drill down to that level of what type of contract that person has with the company, or we just never have drilled down to that level. We've always held to, though, that if it's performance-based, if the jobs are there, the city and the surrounding community gets that benefit, that economic benefit, and we incentivize them. It's always after the fact. There's no money up front.
Thanks.
Yes, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Employee number one, Tom. 2 questions. Relative to outreach and recruitment from surrounding universities, do you have an official approach? I mean, is that part of your equation on your job?
Yeah, actually, Madeline kind of leads that up for us, but we do all of the universities basically have career fairs.
Right.
One of the things that I'm thinking about doing, I talked to Rex about it this morning, our VP, was going out to the heads of the different departments within the universities to just talk to them about how do we set up a relationship that continues to grow. So if you look at us over the first 10 years, it was a steady growth, but it was very controlled, because what I don't want to do is get to a position where we're actually overhiring. So I'd rather have a backlog than to get into the position you were talking about a minute ago. I don't want to do the plunge. Right, so we've done that slowly, but it's gotten to the magnitude and momentum has picked up to the point that I've got these clients that desire long-term supportability, sustainability. So I've loosened that up a little bit so that we can bring on additional resources in order to keep up with the work that's coming our way. So what I see is a combination of continuing to hire people who are retiring or resident experts, SMEs, subject matter experts, but supplementing that, especially in areas of cyber and software development, because what you really want is the brainiacs out of the colleges and universities. And the truth is, I personally believe that that level in the state of Oklahoma is as high as it is anywhere in the country. We just haven't tapped it.
Second question. What high school?
Mount St. Mary's.
You pass.
And you went to?
John Marshall.
Okay. I can tell you that I was on the only football team that beat McGinnis. St. Mary's. That never happens. But anyway, thank you.
Do I dare ask for university preference? No. Any other comments from the trustees?
I'd like to move the approval.
We have a motion. Second. Please cast your votes. And it is approved. General manager reports.
I think the next thing on the agenda is the first quarter report from the Alliance for Economic
That's
Development.
correct.
In your packet is a copy of the quarterly report from the Alliance for Economic Development, including our financial statements. Just a few highlights to hit. This past quarter, which seems like a long time ago now, things are just moving a little too quickly lately. We've been working a great deal on getting the mixed-use development kicked off that's going to be to the east of the Convention Center and the Convention Center Hotel. The city has selected the architect for the parking garage portion of it, and Urban Renewal selected the development team for the apartment piece of it. We have worked to divide up the site between the two projects and are now, each of those two teams are now designing their projects, and we're working through all of the details of that. The other thing that we've been very much involved in the last few months is the Innovation District Land Use and Strategic Development Plan. We have retained Perkins & Will, which is a national planning firm, along with a team of sub-consultants that are working with them to develop an economic development strategy for the Innovation District area, along with a land use plan that helps us identify places that are the best location for some of the amenities that the district needs, and more office lab kind of space as well. We've had a lot of stakeholder and community meetings associated with that, and we're beginning another round of those actually later this week. A more recent effort that we've been working with the mayor's office on is the new Opportunity Zone designation that is a part of the Tax Reform Act. Oklahoma City was selected by the Accelerator for America, along with Louisville and South Bend, to develop sample investment prospectuses for our communities. So we've been leading that effort in our office. Recently were awarded a grant from the Inasmuch Foundation to help support those efforts. So we'll be developing a website and putting some effort into identifying projects and working with developers in the local community to pitch those projects to the larger investment world, so both national and local investors. A really interesting project, and we hope to roll out our investment prospectus near the end of the month. And then finally, we continue to work in Northeast Oklahoma City. We have several requests for proposals out there right now. And we accepted proposals on the redevelopment of Marcus Garvey School. We still have active proposals out on all the commercial property that Urban Renewal owns in Northeast Oklahoma City. There's a piece at 16th and Martin Luther King, for example, another piece at 24th and 16th and Martin Luther King and 24th and Martin Luther King. And we continue to work with a variety of home builders building houses, single-family houses, some duplexes in Northeast Oklahoma City. So the rest of it's in your packet. I'll be glad to answer any questions, and thank you.
Thank you, man. Any questions for Kathy? Seeing none, we need a motion to receive, do we not? Yes, sir. So moved. Second. Cast your votes. And it is done. Now, General Manager reports.
Don't know that there's. Sorry, I'm not sure that there's that much to add to the General Manager's report from what we've already heard in the meeting. The financials are through September 30th. We've allocated about $61 million in gold bond funds, or $71 million, through September. Just as a reminder, the voters did authorize another $60 million for the gold bond program last year, and we have not issued any of those bonds yet.
Thank you, ma'am. That concludes the reports that we have. Next is comments from staff. Seeing none, comments from trustees. Again, seeing none. Any citizen wishing to be heard that hasn't had an opportunity yet?
That's what I just wanted to introduce Lacey Kelly. She's joined our economic development team, and she'll be working with us going into the future. So she came from the planning department, and we're excited to have her. So,
thank you. Welcome, Lacey. Seeing no other comments, we are adjourned.